We're going to continue to cover this. As we mentioned, we're expecting President Trump and Ukraine's President Zelensky to hold a joint news conference at some point this afternoon. Don't know if it's on or off. We're expecting it to still be on. We'll bring it to you live when it does happen. Our coverage will continue on CBS News 24/7, your local news, and tonight on the CBS Evening News. This has been a CBS News Special Report. I'm Maurice Dubois.
Maurice and team, we will pick up the ball from here and continue the conversation. You're watching CBS News 24/7 now, streaming coast to coast and worldwide, in a worldwide conversation. Those of you watching and listening right now, make no mistake, you just watched history play out, and no doubt history that will give birth to more historic headlines. Let's continue this conversation now with Michael Bosserque. He's a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council's Eurasia Center, live from Ukraine. I want to bring up something that in all the coverage I've seen over the last hour has not been brought up, and that is this: the eyes of the world watching, Ukrainians watching and digesting, but also, no doubt, somebody watching is he who presided over the annexation of Crimea and also presided over and ordered the invasion of Ukraine. We're talking about Putin of Russia. Your thoughts?
Well, if I can stop shaking my head from what I just saw, I mean, he must be in such a gleeful mood right now, sitting back thinking, sky is the limit. After you heard what Trump said, this was clearly Mr. Trump throwing red meat to his base. It was governing by press conference. He was ridiculing Mr. Zelensky. He again inflated those numbers of $350 billion that the U.S. gave to Ukraine. It's actually half of that. But, you know, I think here in Ukraine, it will make Zelensky a hero. In fact, was looking at some Telegram channels, and people are applauding Mr. Zelensky, but this could not have gone worse. Let me tell you what my big fear is right now, and it's almost sending shivers down my back, and it's something I've predicted previously, is that if Mr. Trump gets very angry and decides to cut Ukraine loose or Mr. Zelensky loose, it could happen very, very quickly. Three ways that could happen. Mr. Musk, his shadow vice president, could cut off the Starlink system to the Ukrainian military and to Ukrainian institutions. That would put them in a very, very bad position. Secondly, they could very quickly stop sharing intelligence information, targeting information with the Ukrainians. And thirdly, which would be the worst, would be to disable missile defense systems. And as I said earlier on the first segment we were on, is that we did have Russian ballistic missiles come to Odessa here today. There were drones elsewhere in Ukraine, and there were power outages in many, many different parts of the country. This is a worst case scenario in every way.
Arguably, the NATO nations, those who have the most immediate proximity to what is going on there, are also watching this. What do you anticipate their reaction and their response is going to be?
Yeah, well, probably pretty much as the Ukrainian ambassador to the U.S. holding their heads in their hands. But they're also, you know, they're going to have to calculate very quickly what to do. Because, you know, think of it this way. Even when the relations were good, U.S. was sending aid, Mr. Putin was still going with his gray zone warfare, hybrid warfare, you know, interfering with elections, cutting submarine cables allegedly, assassinating opponents on foreign soil, and also in the countries neighboring Ukraine, their airspace has been violated a few times with Russian drones and missiles flying towards Ukraine. So for the past while, Mr. Putin being Mr. Putin, he loves to test for soft tissue, and he's probably figured it out. And another worst case scenario right now would be for him to exploit this void when Mr. Trump is very, very angry, may not come to Ukraine's defense. With the European allies still in disarray, they're still talking about raising their defense spending to arm better so they could push Mr. Putin back. Well, all of that may come a little bit too late. So it is, I don't want to over-exaggerate things right now and speculate, but it is a very, very dangerous time for Ukraine right now and for the European continent, as a matter of fact.
The president of the United States telling the president of Ukraine, quote, "You don't have the cards." And now the question, will Mr. Zelensky fold? Thank you so much for the conversation. And for you at home watching, CBS News 24/7 continues right now. Let's bring in Elizabeth Cook because we are literally watching history play out. That card game is now going on behind closed doors, outside of the view of the press. But we know you have reaction from reporters who are there in Washington, D.C. watching this.
What a moment there at the White House that we
Right.
just witnessed. As you said, we witnessed history today.